The Senate earlier this morning passed that $95 billion package to assist Ukraine and Israel, and the final vote was 70-29, but not without some quite angry about it. And I want to get your thoughts on it this morning at 605-336-1320. How you feel about it. Republicans have been filibustering this over the weekend, trying to delay this vote, and it passed this morning 70-29. And I want to get your thoughts on it. 605-336-1320 is the Kello hotline. You want to join the program, 605-336-1320. There were a number of Republicans who voted against it and tried to block it. Senator Rand Paul said on the floor before the final vote, he said, this bill gives the finger to American taxpayers. He said, this bill gives the finger to all of America. This bill is Ukraine first, America last. Here's Senator Rand Paul.
Open the champagne, pop the cork. The Senate Democrat leader and the Republican leader are on their way to Kiev. They've got $60 billion they're bringing. I don't know if it'll be cash in pallets, but they're taking your money to Kiev. Now, they didn't have much time, really no time and no money to do anything about our border. We're being invaded. A literal invasion's coming across our border. 800,000 people came illegally in the last month, and all they had time to do in the Senate was get the money, get the cash pallets, load the planes, get the champagne ready, and fly to Kiev.
That was Senator Rand Paul. Other Republicans supported this. Senator Jerry Moran of Kansas supported it. He said, I believe in America first, but unfortunately, America first means we have to engage the world. I want to get your thoughts on this at 605-336-1320 if you'd like to join the program. Good morning, Steve. You're on, Kello.
Hey, good morning, Greg.
Hey, buddy.
So I'm straight off. I'm forget Ukraine, and I didn't use the word forget. The only reason American politicians give 2 cents about what happens in Ukraine is because they've been using it as a personal cash machine since the fall of the Soviet Union. And if Putin takes over, that stops. And if you want to know who's using it as a cash machine, just look at who voted for this.
Yeah, it's really troubling. Now, what Senator Rand Paul's saying, that this is basically America last. Once again, that's what we're seeing is America last. How are you feeling about this?
I'm right on board with the senator. This is America last. I mean, the stipulations that were given to them for money to Ukraine and Israel was we need to secure the border. I don't believe there's anything to secure the border in this. It's just cash, and it's going to fall in. It's going to trickle into the politicians' pockets.
Do you hope the House of Representatives torpedoes this thing?
I'd like to see them really stick it to the Senate and not even vote on it. Just say, yeah, we'll get to that at some point, and then just forget about it.
Well, I appreciate your call. It's always good to talk to you. Thanks, Steve. 605-336-1320 is the Kello hotline. 605-336-1320. So Senator Rand Paul did an interview with Fox Business. And this was with Larry Kudlow over at Fox Business. And Senator Paul said, he was really tough on Senator Mitch McConnell. And he says, this is criminal neglect for Mitch McConnell. And he went on, he said, I meet no one in Kentucky and no conservatives across the land that are for this, but the leadership of the Senate under Mitch McConnell is more concerned with sending your money to Ukraine than they are with the invasion of the southern border. And I've had enough. I'm going to do everything in my power to slow down and stop this. I told them they can vote when hell freezes over. Because, frankly, This isn't in the best interest of our country, and the money has to be borrowed, he said. We don't have $1 billion, $100 billion sitting around. We borrow $1.5 trillion. Then we're going to borrow another $100 billion. He said $100 billion. And certainly we're asking China to send money to Ukraine. It makes us weaker and is bad for the country. And Mitch McConnell, Joe Biden, and Chuck Schumer are wrong on this. I'm going to do everything I can to slow them down at the very least, and possibly there'll be enough of an uprising of people calling in saying, Mitch McConnell, who are you? Do you represent the Republicans and conservatives, or are you in lockstep with Schumer? He said, there needs to be an uprising, and we need to have a chance to stop this. So what you hear Senator Rand Paul saying there is that he hopes that you and I, right, that we're going to be outraged enough that we are going to stand up to Senate leadership and react to this. So I would love to hear from you. 605-336-1320 is the Kello hotline. 605-336-1320. So, again, this interview with Kudlow, or Kudlow, rather. I always mispronounce his name. It's Larry Kudlow. Said this was prior to the vote, and he was hoping that they could get enough. And, unfortunately, as we've seen, they didn't. So they voted early this morning on this issue. So they continued through the night and then into, again, early this morning. And that vote was about our time, was probably about 5:30 this morning. So let's get to some of your reaction. Good morning, Jim. You're on, Kello.
Yeah, how you doing?
Doing well. Thanks, Jim.
All right. So the long and the short of it is it's a total mess. It's all corrupted. And, Rounds and, John Thune, it's just, why are we paying these people?
No, I understand there's a lot of frustration with South Dakota's congressional delegation.
What are they doing? What do they ever do except come out of their hole once in a while and either talk about veterans or Native Americans? What are they doing?
If you're expecting me to answer that question for you, I think you're looking at the wrong place, but I understand your frustration, Jim. Thanks so much for the call. I appreciate it. Good morning, Lance. You're on, Kello.
Well, the question is, did Mook Rounds and Mook Thune vote for this? That's what we're trying to establish. As of yesterday, they agreed that they would. And I have called their office, and I implore the listeners of your show to just flood their offices with calls. But I have called multiple times, and they give me basically, as Rand Paul said, the finger.
Yeah, he's pretty angry as he talked about this.
Right. But where are our senators?
Well, again, this vote just took place this morning. So I haven't seen the final vote total. Those stories aren't out there yet.
Right. Yeah.
So you're asking me a question to which I don't have the answer, at least this morning. It's not about Thunes and Round. It's about, we've got Senator Rand Paul saying he's hoping that folks are going to be angry enough about this that they are going to, cause an uprising and saying, Mitch McConnell, who are you? Do you represent the Republicans and conservatives, or are you in lockstep with Schumer? That's what Senator Paul said.
And, Greg, that would go hand in hand with our own senators. The question would be pointed directly at them as well.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Right. I mean, they've shown this time and time again. And again, I beg and implore the listeners, call. because they need to hear from us. They need to.
I agree. Absolutely agree.
Do they care? Hard to say. Hard to say. Anyway, keep up the good work, Greg.
Well, thank you, my friend. Good to hear from you, Lance. Phone lines are open. 605-336-1320 is the Kello hotline. 605-336-1320 if you want to join the program. Again, Senator Rand Paul, I have a lot of respect for Rand Paul and other Republicans saying that, I shared the comments of Senator Moran of Kansas. I believe in America first, but unfortunately, America first means we have to engage in the world. And I don't think Republicans, certainly, I don't want to speak for Senator Rand Paul, speak for myself. I want to engage the world. I want to be a leader, but I want there to be an America that can lead, and that starts at the border. This is why we keep coming back to this issue of the border over and over and over and over and over again, and then the people who don't get it are in Washington. Senator Paul gets it. He understands it. So, is it, I don't know, I don't, trying to judge the level of anger that people have in reaction to this. It'll be interesting to see. Senator McConnell over the weekend said, I know it's become quite fashionable in some circles to disregard the global interests we have as a global power, to bemoan the responsibilities of global leadership. Is that what we're doing here? That's not what I've heard from any of you, that you don't want to be leaders, that you don't want to be global leaders. It's that America has got to remain a country in order to be able to do those things, right? You cannot sacrifice everything that America is and then, in the interests of global leadership. It just makes my head spin. 605-336-1320 is the Kello hotline. Good morning, Sean. You're on Kello.
Good morning, Greg. You kind of took the words out of my mouth, but it is ridiculous that our elected leaders, regardless of what state they're from, seem so eager to send so much money to other places before they want to address our own problems. Because if we want to be a global leader, we have to show the world how it's done, which means we take care of ourselves.
Yep.
We have a secure border. We put smart people in office, hopefully, and show people what freedom looks like. Show people what a true representative republic, a nation with secure borders, looks like. Instead of sending all this money and equipment to some place that it doesn't need to involve us. But,
just so you can put your hands around it, $60 billion for Ukraine, $14 billion for Israel, $9 billion in humanitarian assistance for Gaza, nearly $5 billion for the Indo-Pacific, and on it goes.
And think about what we could do at our border with that money. It's ridiculous that it's being sent overseas, and it's unfortunately, I don't even know that it's helping that war effort, if you want to call that a war. I think it's going into this giant money pit, and it eventually comes back to all these people that are loving this bill. So it's a circle of corruption, and it has to be broken at some point. I hope the people of Kentucky see what they've done and get Mr. McConnell out of there and maybe vote in somebody else like Rand Paul. So
yeah, great point. Sean, always good to talk to you. Thank you, my friend. Phone lines are open at 605-336-1320 if you'd like to join the program. And this was Senator Rand Paul I believe last night as he was speaking against the bill.
Open the champagne, pop the cork. The Senate Democrat leader and the Republican leader are on their way to Kiev. They've got $60 billion they're bringing. I don't know if it'll be cash in pallets, but they're taking your money to Kiev. Now, they didn't have much time, really no time and no money to do anything about our border. We're being invaded. A literal invasion's coming across our border. 800,000 people came illegally in the last month, and all they had time to do in the Senate was get the money, get the cash pallets, load the planes, get the champagne ready, and fly to Kiev.
So the cash-in pallets, you know what he's talking about there, right? The cash-in pallets, that was during the Obama administration. The money to Iran, remember that? 605-336-1320. Good morning, Harold. You're on Kello.
Good morning, Greg. I strenuously disapprove of that vote. The Congressional Budget Office just recently released their future estimates. We don't have the damn money. We need to get a decent budget, and we can't have illegal aliens sucking up all the money and taking that money from people that need it here in the United States. We need the first order of business. There are two orders of business. Get a dang budget and to shut the border. And I'm sorry if I almost made you hit the...
Oh, you're fine. You were just fine, my friend. Harold, you're doing great.
Okay, that was my point. We don't have the money. We have there are higher priorities, and they're not paying any attention to those high priorities.
Very well said. Harold, it's always great to talk to you, and appreciate your emails, too. Thank you, my friend. 605-336-1320 is the Kello hotline. If you'd like to drop me an email, greg.belfridge@keloam.com is my email address. So, as we talk about the border, there is also a story this morning from, this is a report from the National Review. National Review yesterday spoke with people in Chicago about the border. And they are saying they're getting angry. They're angry with their mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, because he is engaged in blaming Texas for sending these illegals to Illinois. And you've got people in Chicago, in Illinois, who are saying, no, this is... One of them said, she's a candidate for the Cook County Board of Commissioners. She says, it's a Biden thing. It's a Pritzker thing, the governor of Illinois. It's a Brandon Johnson thing. They wanted sanctuary cities. It's not Abbott's fault. He didn't ask for it. We asked for it, she says. And that's the response that Democrats in Chicago specifically and in Illinois are having to what's going on. And there are a number of them that talk to National Review. So you are seeing then people are waking up, which is exactly what Texas Governor Greg Abbott was trying to accomplish. That by sending all of these illegals then to Illinois, to these sanctuary states and cities, that they would wake up to the problem. And it certainly appears they're starting to. Let's get back to some of your calls. Good morning, Andy. You're on Kello.
Greg, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Hey, I had to pull over and I had to look this up on the Senate website. So it's labeled H.R. 815, and this is called the Relive Act. And what they did is it's a committee under the Veterans Affairs, and it's a bill to expand eligibility for Department of Veterans Affairs reimbursement for emergency treatment of veterans on non-VA facilities, and that's how they got it through. And yes, John Thune and Mike Rounds both voted for it. That's real slimy to do to latch it onto a veterans bill. So they go, well, I had to vote for it because it helps veterans.
Right. So what's your reaction to what they did?
Greg, I am a veteran, and to do that is just to undercut veterans out there going, because I'd love to see the breakdown of how much money this gives to veterans of our own country versus other countries like Ukraine and Taiwan and Israel. And we're not talking about third world nations here. Like, they all have robust economies, and they can take care of themselves. That we're just going to kind of throw a couple pennies at veterans and go, well, we had to do it.
Yeah,
it's just underhanded and dirty.
I understand your reaction, and I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you so much, Andy, for your call and your thoughts.